it's like you're sitting there and you're watching everything you hold dear just run through your hands like sand.
Yeah.
And then, like flicking a light switch, it's just back in your hand whole again.
Hearts are changing, lives made new. Grace is shining, breaking through. This is transformation, transformation through Christ. Now your hosts, Papa T and Doug.
All right, guys, welcome to the Transformation Through Christ podcast. This is Doug Gregory, got Papa T, and today we have a special guest. In my phone, he's called Will from O'Reilly's, but his last name is actually Will Wood. And I think it's a fitting last name for him because if you know anything about Will Wood, he's tougher than...
Tougher than a pine knot.
Tougher than a pine knot, which pine knot ain't that hard, but I don't know if it's oak knot or hickory or what it is, but Will is a very special person to us, and we wanted to ask him to come join us today for the Transformation Through Christ podcast because I think if anybody's been transformed by Christ, it's been Will.
That's right.
That is true.
That's right.
I first met Will. The reason he's in my phone is Will from O'Reilly's is back several years ago. How many years has that been?
7.
Okay. So I've been up here 8. So yeah, I met Will initially because I've always got something broke working on it. Met him at O'Reilly's, and just I knew then there was something special about Will. He just was a nice guy, and he's got this personality that just draws people in. And did not know how our futures was going to overlap and interact the way they did. I would see you from time to time, but then you left, and then I didn't see you for years, probably.
Yeah, probably 2.
And then we were at a craft fair, and your wife Felicia was set up behind us, and I'm like, hey, it's Will. And, you know, me and Will were always, you know, we'd see each other 6-8 months later, just like, hey, man, you know. But Will, all during that time, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had told me later on that you kind of identified yourself as an atheist.
Yes. Yeah, I was an atheist until last year.
Okay. You want to talk a little bit about that and tell us kind of why? I think I know why, but, you know, share the story.
Yeah, you definitely know why. Well, I had never had the opportunity to see firsthand faith in action.
Interesting.
You know, it had been around me, but I had never looked. And I got married, and my wife has always been very, very devout, very religious, very faithful. And it just didn't make sense to me. I couldn't wrap my head around it. And she and I had a very long conversation about it on September 9th. And before I went to bed, I said, if you really are there, prove it. And the very next day,
Oh, boy.
Yep.
my wife is in a head-on collision that rightfully should have killed her. And who's right there moments after the accident providing first aid? Doug.
That was a heck of a day. That was the day Charlie Kirk got killed.
Yep. And had Doug not been where he was, when he was, and reacted the way he did, she would not be here today.
And I don't know, I didn't think I did anything special, you know, and I've kind of told the story on our Wounds, Wisdom, and the Word podcast. You know, I was there. I was at that place at the moment because my wife was sitting in Nashville, broke down. You know, I wasn't even supposed to be there.
You had just left our house.
Well, yeah, I was sitting here at Tony's house, and I get this frantic call. You know, my wife had taken my middle son to the specialist at Vanderbilt, and the valet basically ripped the shifter linkage apart. I didn't know that at the time, but so Tony throws me a jump pack and says, "I'll watch your kids and teach your Bible class tonight," by the way, because it was Wednesday, and go. And I did. And then, yeah, kaboom. But, I mean, I don't know. There's more to the story than just I happened to be in the right place in the right time. I still don't think it had, I guess it did have something to do with me, but it really didn't have much to do with me. I mean, I don't know. I just, there's a whole lot of people around us that support me, and, the next day, I didn't know who she was, and I was like, I know she looks familiar. Of course, I mean, she's bleeding profusely and, screaming and all this. And I try to calm her down, but I'm like, I know her from somewhere, but I can't put it. And then winds up later on, you were there on the scene and I didn't know you were there.
Yep.
I missed you in the melee.
I got there right as you were leaving.
Which, by the way, Mr. Will ran 3 miles in a pair of Crocs. Forrest Gump would have got past
Hey,
in 18 minutes.
when your wife's in trouble, you go.
Yeah. I mean, 3 miles in a pair of Crocs in 18 minutes. But I went after like filling out an accident report or whatever paperwork I did. I went and got my wife anyway, patched back together. Got home that night and kind of got the kids to bed, and I sat down. I'm like, I got to find out who this was, because I know it'd be on Facebook. And then first thing I do is open Facebook and I see a post from Will, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I call you. And yeah. I answered that call. I was like, Will, is that your wife? And he's like, Doug. All she keeps saying is Doug was there and he saved me. And I just lost it. I melted into a pool.
That was the first thing she said when she gained consciousness. Where's Doug? He saved me. Where's Doug? He saved me.
And I don't know. I still can't believe it. Cause I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, I know she was bleeding, but like she coded in the ambulance. I didn't know that at the time.
Yep.
Like it was bad. And then something told me I needed to go. I figured out she was in Skyline. So I was like, I got to go. You asked me to come. But I was like, I got to go. And then, yeah, it just kind of all spooled from there.
Yeah. I'm telling you, careful what you ask for.
So, the wreck happens the next day. You're starting to put all these pieces together. And like you said, there was already kind of some of these elements moving, right? That you starting to have these conversations, and
Yes, sir.
And y'all had tried to live life a couple different ways.
Yes, sir.
That didn't necessarily work out to be the best. And I don't know. Talk to me about.
Yeah, we lived a polyamorous lifestyle for a little bit, and that never ends well for anybody.
Yeah.
We've tried everything, and none of it felt like home, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it does now. Now, it's like we know it feels like going home. I don't know how else to describe the feeling. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It really feels like I went home after being gone for a really long time.
Yeah. Well, I was shocked. I didn't know. I remember the day I come down to the hospital, and it was like, he's like, I've been an atheist for 40 something years. I think that's what you said. And I was like, Will? I wouldn't guess that. I remember you told me part of that was a child.
Yeah, I wasn't very vocal about those things because I never felt the need to just rub it in people's faces that I thought they were incorrect or anything like that. You know, it just wasn't. I didn't agree. You know, I just didn't agree. So I just.
Well, I mean, you had seen a lot too. You'd been through a lot. Like you, for
Yeah.
people who don't know, you were. How many years were you in the military? You were M&P,
Yeah, I was in from 2004 to 2011.
and had a pretty rough go of it.
Yeah, not horrible, and nothing
But I mean, you had several injuries.
outside of normal military service, I guess.
But you were a frontline
Yeah,
person,
yeah,
like
I was-
on boots on the ground, getting shot at. And,
yeah. I mean, I did my job,
yeah.
and you see things and you go through stuff, and it makes you question why.
Because you've dealt with some pretty severe PTSD.
Yeah, and between that, I lost a child. I had a child die in my lap,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
and
So,
that was the big one for me.
Yeah.
When my daughter died in my lap, I was like, "There's no way." There's just no way. No way this kind of cruelty should exist.
And I think that's a problem a lot of people struggle with. Is like they call it the problem of evil, pain, and suffering. Right? If there's an all-knowing, all-loving God, which that statement "all-loving" is kind of misconstrued. But
The biggest problem for me was perspective. It was how I was looking at it. Now that I've had the chance to have that love enter my life, I realize now that it wasn't cruelty. That it was a blessing even then. My daughter was extremely preterm. She would have had a horrible life had she survived. Yeah, it hurt for me, but that's selfish.
her soul got to go home and be with God.
So she didn't have to endure a lifetime of suffering.
Kind of like you have. Because it's not just the military service. You've got a lot of people may not know, but like even just sitting here, like Will's probably in more pain than I may see in my whole lifetime.
yeah.
You talk about your health issues a little bit.
So I have a genetic kidney disease. So, on a day-to-day basis, I'm constantly passing kidney stones, and the actual flesh of my kidneys, ureter, bladder, urethra are all crystallizing by an overabundance of cystic acid. So beyond the kidney stones, also pieces of that shear off, and you have to have them a lot of times surgically removed, but some of them pass also, and
Just tearing everything up on the way out.
yeah, and I had to have 40% of my bladder removed last July, as along with my ureter tubes. So they put in artificial ureter tubes and pulled down part of my small intestine and rebuilt my bladder out of it.
Yeah.
And now you,
I have to have a stent in all the time in my urethra so that I can pee, because there's so much scar tissue and damage done that my body's not able to contract and push and do the things it's supposed to do in order to go pee and things like that.
and prostate cancer on top of everything else.
Yeah. While they were in there working on it, they found a tumor on my prostate and determined I have prostate cancer. but that's okay. We're winning the fight on that direction. It's the kidneys that are the
Right.
Right. Well, I mean,
battle.
I remember at the hospital, you would, you're like,
Can't win for losing.
you were like, this thing was going to slowly kill me, but now at least this will kill me faster.
Yeah.
And you were almost, I don't say excited about it, but you were
Relieved.
yeah.
Relieved, yeah.
And but now thankfully you're going through a treatment where there's a chance to slow down the crystallization of the kidneys or the whatever calcification, whatever you call it.
Yeah, I'm doing an experimental treatment, and it looks like it's working rather well. And for the first time in a few years, I actually have hope at somewhat of a normal life for a while.
Well, if anybody deserves it, I think you do.
That's right.
Yeah. I've been dealing with the kidney stuff for a little over 6 years. And initially, when I was diagnosed, they told me I had 5 years to live. I outlived their timeline. And now we're looking at an opportunity of extending that timeline another 30 years.
Yeah. Praise God.
It's awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just for a treatment that didn't exist until last month.
I know there's been a lot of prayers on your behalf.
I mean, it's one of the reasons, like Felicia asked me now, what happened? Why do you have so much faith now? Like, I have every bit of reason to. I mean, I watched God put his hand on my spouse. And change everything in our lives. Every aspect of our lives has improved in one way or another since that day.
Yeah.
I saw that working. I guess it was the first Saturday after Felicia had come home. Doug and I went down there to see y'all, and we were outside talking, and I could just see it in your face, like, this is different. This is different because we didn't know Felicia. We just knew Doug had helped, and the transformation people and the church also just kind of jumped on board and said, okay, what do we need to do? What these people need, and without any hesitation, the church rallied up and got to work.
It was, I think at the time there was, your kidney function went from, there was whatever the number is, went from 40 something to 90 something, because that was that day.
Yeah.
And this is a funny story. You don't know this. Like, me and Tony have been in some situations, over the years, and we run down the road we run down the road one night chasing. Well, we went chasing. We were looking for a guy that. Anyway, there's a whole another bicycle story. But Tony looked at me, and he's just dead silent for a few minutes. He said, "We get some crap, don't we?" But we left your house. Because we stand in Food Giant, and you shared with us your kidney number went up, and now they weren't going to treat your prostate cancer because the kidneys, but then that went up, so they were going to. And we got in the truck and pulled up there to the gas station right above your house. And Tony turns and looks at me, and he says, "Don't you say a word to me." And it was just like, what he meant by that is we were both sitting there, and we were so overwhelmed and so didn't know what to say.
Because we had just witnessed seeing God working in several different things that we had talked about, And within just a matter of just a couple of hours of us being there, saw those things happening.
We had just had a conversation about we need somebody that, you know, that can speak Spanish because we want to reach out to. And we was like, oh, yeah, I know 7 languages.
Yeah.
and we're just like, dominoes kept falling, and we got in the truck, and we were just kind of like sit there in silence for a minute, and I like started to turn, and he looked at me and said, don't you say nothing to me. And so we went up the road a little bit, and I just started singing, you know. I don't know. I didn't know what else to do. I mean, yeah, it was just.
That's Felicia always says, you know, that's the family we always needed but never knew was there.
Yeah. And we sat down and did a Bible study with you guys, and you know, I know that day changed her perspective and outlook, but I don't know that it didn't do more for you than it did her.
Oh, it definitely did. It definitely did.
You know.
It definitely showed me a lot. It opened my heart.
Because when I got to Skyline, you know, I kept asking you on the way down, anything you need? And you finally was like, I need whatever it was, a Monster coffee, blah, 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 whatever it was. And I'm like, okay, I tried to find out. And I did find one at a gas station. But then I'm walking across a parking lot, and I'm like trying to figure out, okay, what room she's going to be in, like where we got to get. I don't even get halfway across the parking lot, and Will's like, hey. And I walk up to Will, and I'm starting to like pull this this energy drink out of my pocket. And he's like, you got any idea how much of a God thing it was to use? And he's like, get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he was wound up. But
yeah, he was ready to go. He didn't need a Monster.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I was running on fumes.
Yeah, but I know you need the Monster, but every time my mama goes to the hospital, she's like, bring me a Mountain Dew. Sometimes she drinks them. Yeah, I mean, it was just so wild. And then to see, like I say, there was something special about you before, but to even see, you know, a couple of days ago, you needed some help. You didn't ask for it, but in the process of you getting that help, you were like dragging out stuff and like, I'm going to take this to this person. Like you were trying to help in the middle, and you're the one need help.
Yeah.
You know, like the giving spirit that you have. I think that's one of the things I prayed a lot is like, let your servant serve.
You know, it's that goes back to my mom. My mom's always been, if you have and someone doesn't, and you have the ability to share, do. It's our job. If you see somebody in need of something and you have the ability to fill that need, it's wrong not to.
Yeah.
You make an interesting point of letting people have the opportunity to serve. I know back just before Christmas, I had texted you, you know, just what do you need? And you give me a list of some stuff, and there was some lumber supplies you wanted.
Yes, sir.
I thought, okay, I'll put put it out here. It was within just hours, if not sooner than that we had that taken care of.
Yep.
And we probably got more than what we asked for.
Oh, yeah, almost twice as much.
Oh, I know what I was going to tell a minute ago. You're talking about when we first met you and the church jumped in to help. Early on, when sometimes I tell a story and I get sidetracked.
Yeah.
You were going to be able to do this cancer medicine, but it was going to be like how many ever dollars it was. It was a lot of money, and you didn't have the money. And so I stood up. Was it Sunday morning?
It was Sunday morning. Sunday morning we made that announcement.
Anyway, but like the church the church.
Is there a way you can leave?
The church gave like,
excuse me.
Yeah, $3,000 or $4,000. Just like you know, just
$4,500.
bang. And then the next day it was like, oh yeah, here's the STAR program or whatever it is. And, we're going to pay for your medicine. So then that money actually wound up being the money you had because you could, at the time you weren't working, she was working, but then she couldn't work because of the wreck and all the reconstructive surgeries.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it all kind of fell in place.
Yeah. It was, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just, every single thing fell into place perfectly. And it's like you're sitting there and you're watching everything you hold dear just run through your hands like sand.
Yeah.
And then, like flicking a light switch, it's just back in your hand whole again. It's a hard feeling to convey.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, I've always said, God's never doing just one thing at a time. Because
Now, that stuff was set into motion years ago.
yeah, it was. But like, you know, it wasn't about me, but like there was part of that day I needed to. I'd been struggling with some mental health stuff and, you know, I struggled mightily with not being a hero, but like even feeling good about doing, you know, helping, you know, I was like, what I did wasn't special. Anybody should have done it. And I had somebody look at me and say, well, yeah, Doug, you're right. Anybody should have done it, but not everybody would have done it. And like, why can't you just accept the attaboy and go on with your life? And like, it don't feel right. I mean, you know, like.
How many other people were present? I know when I got there was 2 other women, and there was another guy sitting on the side of the road.
There were 2 people standing up on the road staring. Like, of course, she was directly in front of me. So when it hit, and, you know, I was on the phone talking to my wife trying to fix this car through the phone, which is like, if you've ever tried to fix a car over the phone, that's brilliant. But I'm like, right in front of me, got to go. And I jump out of the truck, and then Felicia jumps out of the car. And I'm like, I don't know. The moment the wrecks happened, I'm on the brakes, I'm setting the flashers, and I'm getting out of the truck. I don't know. You got to go. And then when she's out and bleeding, you know, I was standing there, I was like, you know, you got to calm down. You got to sit down. And I needed something to hold pressure with. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, I was about to take my shirt off, but I'm like, if there was another option, I wanted another option, you know, like nobody in Clarksville wants to see this. And I turned around and there was 2 people standing up on the road and they're just standing there watching. And I'm like, I need something to hold pressure. And they went and got me a blanket. And I was trying to get her to hold pressure, like hold her hand on her head. And I figured out very quickly that she was in shock.
Yeah.
I mean, she was not able to function very well at the moment. So I figured out I had to figure out some way to get it stopped. And,
but all those other people there, and as you mentioned, it was in Clarksville, not a small town.
Mm-mm.
Tons of people going by. Who took action?
Well, and it wasn't long after that, there was a wreck. There's a video of a wreck. It was a Mustang. It kind of took out, did a burnout, and anyway, it flipped upside down in this culvert. And I didn't realize it, but I've watched that video 10 or 15 times because it was like the viral clip of the day. But there's like a bank there. It's like coming out of a car show or whatever. and this car flips upside down in this bank, and there's 4 or 5 people like right there where it crashes, and one person jumps up down to the car, and there's 20 people sitting around not moving. And when I saw that, I was like, like it. I don't know. I mean, my journey, that was something to like, it helped me. I kind of needed that. I didn't need to save somebody, but like I needed to help somebody and know that it's, it's okay to help somebody and feel okay about it. Like, it's okay for God to use you in a moment, and it ain't about me. It ain't never been about me, but God's never just transforming. 2 Corinthians, 1, 3, and 4, right? God's God of all comfort, who comforts us in all affliction, that we may comfort others in their affliction. That God is never just God's never doing one thing at a time. He was trying to help y'all. He's trying to help me. He's trying to, all this stuff he put us in that situation. He didn't make us do anything. He didn't make her get in a wreck. He didn't make me jump out and help her. But he can't orchestrate circumstances and put people in places to be like, put the ball on T, here you go. You want this?
Yep.
You want it?
Everything was laid in place, and all the people in their spots did what they needed to do.
Yeah.
And that's one reason why, it's when you hear Felicia talk about it, or you hear me talk about it, you always will be a hero to us, because you didn't have to act. You didn't. You could have went around the wreck and went on about your day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Nothing required you to get out. Go up to someone at the time you didn't realize who it was. So in your head, it was a complete stranger. So now you've put yourself at risk because you're touching a bleeding stranger. You have no clue what communicable diseases they have, anything along those lines. So you're not only risking your own physical safety by doing so, you could be risking your long-term health by doing so.
No.
And you didn't question it. You didn't pause. You didn't hesitate. You acted.
Well, and I mean, once again, it ain't anything. The transformation happens with us as much as it's, we need to be transformed and continue to be transformed just as much as anybody else does, Tony, like I say, the first episode of this, we kind of told the story with Tony and what he went through. I mean, that's kind of the reason why we're trying to help people with real problems, because God's helped us with some real problems. I remember one night at service, I kind of said, okay, we're not doing a Bible class tonight. I'm going to kind of tell you what's been going on with me. And shared a story and shared some things I discovered through counseling. And I had a lady come up to me afterwards. And this is she's love her death. But she walked to me and she said, I understand you now. And I was and then she began to share a similar story of something that happened to her that I would have never known in a million years any other way. And that's one of the things that's so powerful and why we want to do a podcast, is because there's all these stories that need to be told, where people need to, despite PTSD and despite health issues and despite a tragic car wreck and despite, all this stuff, that God can make good come out of
The most horrible situations.
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a lot of times I pray, God, let something good come out of this.
Seriously, some of the best things that has happened to my family has come out of that wreck. And sure, it's horrible. It's awful that she got into a really bad wreck. She's got a bunch of scars from it. She's having some hard time dealing with that. But what we collectively gained as a family is irreplaceable.
Because you gained, in a real way, you gained eternity.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know, it was 10 days after her accident, I was saved. And 2 weeks after me, she was saved.
praise God.
You know, you can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah, I mean, I was just so shocked. And I mean, I just didn't know. I didn't know your story. You were such an outgoing, personable guy. You know, a lot of people would have went through part of what you went through or all of it and they'd have been the grumpy guy at the parts house, you know, and they'd have every reason to be grumpy.
You know, that's something like Robin Williams always said, you know, look for the happiest person in the room. They've experienced real tragedy.
Yeah. Well, and even like another side story to all this, okay, when you become a Christian, there's a guy that you knew was also did a similar job in the military that you did. You were in the Army, right? He was in.
Yeah, I was in the Army. He's in the Air Force.
But the day I was at the hospital talking to you, and I'm like, hey, yeah, I know this other guy did, and he's like, oh yeah, I know him. In fact, he married us.
Yep.
I'm like, okay.
He worked with me at O'Reilly's, and he got ordained not long before I asked Felicia to marry me. And he said, you know, I'm ordained. I can do that. I said, okay, let's do it right now. And we did.
Yeah. But then the night he'd been coming, his story started with us 3 years before that.
Yeah.
And been coming and been sitting listening, and I've tried to study with him, and I tried to and he just, something was holding him back. And then the night that you obeyed the gospel, it wasn't long after, like 20 minutes after, he did the same thing. And like you had already helped bring somebody to Christ, and you hadn't even got good and dried off yet. You know, it's amazing how much just the relationships and the interconnections between people. And, you know, I tell people all the time, that pulpit, when I stand in the pulpit and preach on Sunday, that pulpit is not for evangelism. At least, I mean, and not saying nobody ever hears the truth out of there and maybe wants to become a Christian because of what they hear of that pulpit, but that pulpit is to build up Christians to be able to go do evangelism and go do ministry and go do, you know, Ephesians 4:11 and 12, right? Equip the saints for the work of ministry for that upon the body of Christ. You know, I tell people all the time, you know people I don't know. You can reach people I can't reach. You know, I introduced you to another gentleman at church that had a military background, and he was an Army Corps of Engineers and was in for 20-something years and was never in, you know, the same type theaters that you were. But y'all had a connection instantly that, I mean, it was kind of cool just to be a fly on the wall and sit back and watch it, you know, because of your service. Like you had a connection that I didn't have, and that's why I brought him. You know, it takes everybody in the church to bring people.
Yeah.
Because everybody's different.
Yeah. Everybody brings something unique to
Mm-hmm.
the church.
Yep.
And sometimes it just takes somebody saying something a specific way to reach somebody's heart.
Yeah.
Makes sense. You know, I had heard, we live in the South. We're in the Bible Belt. I've heard people preach my whole life.
Yeah.
But I've never had anybody preach to my heart. You know, it just takes that specific communication style, that specific trigger, that moment.
Yeah. Well, I want to tell you, man, you're an inspiration to me because, like I say, your resiliency. You know, there's been times when I've seen you literally shaking in pain and you're worried about me. And like,
I ain't smart enough to stop. That's it. I ain't smart enough to just quit.
but I mean, I've heard, you know, Tony had an instance one time, went and visited a guy in the hospital, kind of laying on his deathbed almost, and the guy's all talking to Tony and like basically ministering to Tony, and and this guy's the one laying in the hospital. You know, Tony come to see him, and you know, you're an inspiration to me.
You know, sometimes caring for others heals us the most.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
That's being able to care for you heals me just as much, if not more, than it heals you.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're miserable all the time, any little piece that you can grasp, you do.
Yeah. Well, we've been going about 45 minutes. Anything else you want to share, want to bring up, talk about?
Not sure how to say it, but you know, I think we're all given different chances to see the truth and to see God's works.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, myself, you know, for years was blind to it. Even though it was always there, I was blind to it mostly out of foolish pride and stubbornness.
Yeah.
And if you can just slow down for a minute and really look at life and look at what's really, truly important, it'll all make so much more sense. You know, when I got sick and they told me, you know, you're only going, you know, you've got 5 years. The things that I stopped doing that I used to do is outrageous. The amount of stuff I don't do no more because it's fruitless.
Well, not to mention we talked about your wife, but you got a little boy and a little girl.
Yeah.
That are something special.
Ornery. They're a handful of them two. Whew.
Yeah.
Of course, they're getting there. You know,
Yeah.
They're just like, you know, the rest of us. They're transforming bit by bit each day.
Yeah.
And each week that we come to church, I've noticed that, you know, they're a little less rambunctious. They're a little less runner. They don't want to run around as much, run and hop to see everybody. Now they're getting to more. Oh, it's church time. Let's sit in our seat and pay attention and learn.
Yeah. Well, and it's all the rest of the kids, you know, I think a lot of times new people come in, they're like, oh, our kids are blah, blah, blah. I was like, that's where our kids was. we had to get on them enough.
You know,
we had to pound them in submission too. It's okay. We know.
It's awesome watching them change.
Yeah.
And grow like that. That's something I never thought I'd see.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's just, you know, every time we get around, you know, Willow's like, Mr. Doug, Mr. Doug.
She loves Mr. Doug.
It's always cool to be, you know, there's another little kid at church and I call him Smiley. And his brothers, I call him Smiley and I call his brother Chill, you know, because his brother smiles a lot too, but he just you can tell he's way more. This little boy's wired 220, and you know the other one's 110. He's a lot more chill. But yeah,
that youngin' of mine, he ain't got no quit.
well, I mean, he's kin to you, I'd say.
He's like, because he's got ADHD, he don't sleep sometimes at all. Like, I got up last night at 1:30. He was sitting in the living room. I said, what are you doing? Couldn't sleep.
I know that feeling.
I'm like, okay. You know, my alarm goes off at 6 to get ready for school. He's like, I'm already ready. I got ready an hour ago. Like, okay.
Yeah. And then about the time he gets to school and he gets sat at his desk, it's like, oh.
Yep. Hits that wall.
Yep.
But, you know, that's another thing, too, is with his ADHD, we've had a lot of really difficult behavioral issues with him.
Mm-hmm.
But since we've been to church regularly, and since he's had that environment around him, his behaviors have been changing as well. You know, 3 out of 5 days a week at school, he would get a red light. Now, 5 out of 5 days, he gets a green light.
Wow. Well, I mean, God built us for community. I've said a bunch of times that, you know, your brain registers physical pain, emotional pain in the same spot because God wired us to need other people.
Yeah.
And I think in our day and time, with as much technology and, you know, one of the reasons why podcasting has taken off, you know, there for a long time, everybody talked about everybody's got a short attention span. And, you know, on social media, shorts, okay, 20, 30 seconds pop. But the two most popular formats in social media are either 30-second shorts or 3-hour conversations. And why is that? Because people crave
Real connection.
and real conversations. And if you can't sit down and have a conversation with somebody, the next best thing is sitting, watching, listening to a real conversation.
Yeah. And conversations are in short supply in this world now.
Yeah.
It's really sad. And it's one of the reasons why I talk to everybody I see so much.
Yeah. Well, like I say, there's just something about you when I first met you. I'm like, that dude right there, you know, you were just different. I mean, I couldn't really put my finger on it, but it's just like, Will's the kind of guy, you know, you'd hang out with and, you know, we'll go eat and hang out and work in the shop or, you know.
Tinker on some junk.
Yeah. Will's the kind of guy you want to hang out with. And like I say, I had no idea of any of your backstory at the time. Even like when I met you at the craft fair, like you were working at a restaurant then.
Yeah.
But yeah.
6 degrees of separation.
Somehow you're connected to Kevin Bacon.
That's it. They say it. It's really true, though. I mean, we're all connected. Just don't take the time to see it.
Right. Yep. All right. Well, anything else?
I like that.
Well, I appreciate your time today. I know you don't feel the best in the world. I thank you for coming, and
I look forward to doing it some more.
yeah. I think it'd be good. I want to get more into the. I feel like we could talk all day. You know, between
I know you're chomping at the bit to talk about that horse.
the horse story is. I about run off the road laughing so hard. I mean, I don't guess it wasn't. It's not funny, but it is kind of funny. You know, you got one of your triggers, I guess, is horses, and
Yeah, that's my biggest fear in the whole world is horses.
because of an event that happened during your service,
Yeah,
and somebody backed you in a corner with a horse, and
you know it. And when you got a genuine, true fear, and you have nowhere else to go, fight or flight takes over.
you told this person multiple times, stop.
Very loudly, very clearly, hey, I'm afraid of horses. Please don't bring that horse over here. And he thought it was hilarious and kept
coming.
and kept coming until finally my back hit the wall. And as soon as my back made contact with that wall and I had nowhere else to escape to, only thing you can do at that point is fight your way out because you can't fly. So I exploded, come off that wall, and just leveled that horse. And
How did you level the horse though? You got to.
I just kicked off the wall and just hit it as hard as I could with everything that I had in me.
In the nose.
Down it went. And,
Seabiscuit is down.
I didn't realize at the time even what I was doing because the adrenaline had took over, and I'm scared.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not for punching horses in the face, but I'm just, Will is Jack.
I'm 135 pounds.
Yeah, and the horse weighs, 1,000 pounds or whatever, and Will done knocked the horse out.
Wasn't like, oh, I'm scared. It's a deep.
No, you were triggered, and it's
the only way I had to go was through.
Yeah,
and down it went, and
it
was a mounted cop
and the officer on the back.
So I'm absolutely flipping out at this point. Just trying to get away from what I'm afraid of, and the only way is through. So I'm going through, and then
which included through him.
Yeah, which included through the officer. And thank goodness, thank God, there was a bunch of witnesses there.
Yeah,
because not only did I knock the horse down, I've also hit a cop, and
multiple times.
Thankfully, his supervisor also a veteran and responds to the scene, and I thankfully end up not going to jail, though rightfully I should have rightfully, but
yeah,
given the situation and that the witnesses that were there,
they all told him what happened.
Continually, told him he was screaming, please don't bring that horse over here. I'm scared, because I'm genuinely scared of them.
You're right. Because you got attacked by somebody.
So if you ever want to see Will really freak out, bring a horse. Ain't even got to be full size. Little Shetlands count.
It's not funny. I'm sorry.
The Shetland pony thing.
When you told me that story, I was just trying to imagine this visual of like Will Supermaning this horse right in the nose and the noise that it made.
I was scared.
Oh yeah,
scared.
Because you had been attacked by somebody on horseback in the service, and yeah, it's not just like, oh, I don't like horses. It was like, this is a PTSD trigger for me.
One spot, just hitting that nerve perfectly.
Yeah.
Like just talking about it, I'm breaking a sweat because of
thinking about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring it up.
Oh no, that's a good way to deal with those things, is to talk about it.
Yeah.
But it's it still has a physiological reaction. Like you can see my forehead sweating, and it's fear.
Yeah.
Just talking about it brings that much fear to me that
Yeah.
Not a lot of people really want to talk about things that they're afraid of, but we're all afraid of something.
Well, I had a guy tell me, I got asked to go speak at a preacher meeting and speak about how to minister to people with depression. And of course, I've dealt with my own mental health stuff, but I got done and I told him, I said, I really could see like maybe, doing some media. And I was telling him about starting a podcast, which I've since started. But he's like, you've got to go where your weakness is. And I thought, that never heard anybody say that, because the idea is like, if you'll talk about it, and not only can you like help somebody else, but like it also kind of helps diffuse it somewhat. Not that you get rid of it, but you bring it out in the light, right? John 1:4-5. The light shine in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcame it. So a lot of times Satan just wants us to sit and keep it in the darkness, because that's where he has more power. But anyway, well, love you, my friend. Thank you for sitting down with us.
I love you too. And I look forward to doing it some more.
Yep. We'll see you next episode on Transformation Through Christ podcast. Love you.